Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into the absolutely fascinating and, well, kind of alarming neuroscience of why we literally cannot stop scrolling. We're going to explore how this endless infinite feed has completely rewired the way we communicate with one another. We'll be looking under the hood at the hidden chemistry of our news feeds, the real-world impact this is having on our ability to focus, and why genuine human connection sometimes feels like it's just getting lost in the noise.
Okay, 96. That is the staggering number of times the average person checks their smartphone every single day. Think about that for a second. If you're awake for 16 hours, you are checking your phone exactly once every 10 minutes without fail. Just imagine how that constant interruption fragments a deep, meaningful conversation over dinner or shatters a quiet moment of reflection.
So, what's really going on here? Is this compulsive need to check our feeds just a massive failure of willpower on our part? Honestly, no. It's actually a behavioral loop intentionally designed by algorithmic software engineering to exploit our deepest neurobiology. It's not about you having weak discipline. It's about a hijacked brain. Part 1. The digital slot machine. The neuroscience of the feed. To really understand this psychological mystery, we first have to unmask the biological culprit, our brain's primary reward pathway, the mesolimbic dopamine tract. Now, you've probably heard dopamine called the pleasure chemical, right? Well, actually, scratch that. It's a massive public misconception. Dopamine is actually the intense driving force of anticipation that floods your brain right before you get a reward. Think of it like the thrill of tracking a package that's out for delivery, rather than the feeling of actually opening the box. As researchers point out, dopamine is all about wanting, not liking. It creates an itch you feel absolutely compelled to scratch.
And this brings us to what software engineers call variable ratio reinforcement. It works like this. Your phone buzzes. Instantly, your ventral tegmental area fires up, flooding your circuits with dopamine. You open the app. Is it an important text from a best friend, a hilarious viral video, or just a boring spam email? That underlying uncertainty literally turns your pocket into a digital slot machine. And it's fundamentally changing how we value human interaction. Because we start craving those rapid-fire dopamine hits of likes and comments over the slower, much more demanding pace of an actual real-life conversation.
Part 2. The attention span collapse, a crisis of cognitive control. So what happens to us when we're constantly pulling the lever on that digital slot machine? Well, attention scientists have documented a pretty terrifying collapse in our sustained focus over the last 20 years. Back in 2004, we averaged 2.5 minutes on a screen before switching tasks. By 2020, that completely plummeted to just 47 seconds. Every single time you switch away to check a notification, your prefrontal cortex, your brain's focus center, has to brutally disengage, figure out the new information, and then try to re-engage with whatever you were originally doing. It causes chronic cognitive overload. But wait, it gets crazier. Today, Generation Z exhibits an average focused attention span of merely 6.5 seconds per social media post. Just 6.5 seconds. This is driven by an endless barrage of fragmented, hyper-accelerated micro-content. Think of those 15-second videos that actively lower our threshold for boredom. When our brains are trained on this hyper-fast content, sustaining a deep, nuanced conversation in real life suddenly feels exhaustingly slow. We're literally losing the cognitive stamina required to simply listen to each other. Now, here's the truly wild part. You don't even need to be looking at your phone to be distracted by it. The mere anticipation of a notification drops your prefrontal executive control. Your brain is actively dedicating background resources to wondering if you have a new message, which diminishes your working memory in real time. It completely fractures our ability to be fully present when we're talking with someone face-to-face. Part 3. The social comparison trap. The gap between reality and the feed. This constant digital overload is taking a huge psychological toll, especially for youth who are right in that critical window of forming their identity. Social media forces our ventromedial prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain assessing social value, to run rapid subconscious social comparison calculations. We're constantly judging our own messy, behind-the-scenes reality against the heavily curated, hyper-filtered highlight reels of everyone else. And that massive gap, it creates a self-discrepancy that just breeds feelings of inadequacy. Which brings us perfectly to FOMO. Look, FOMO isn't just some trendy teenage slang. It's a profound, hardwired, neurological response. It activates your amygdala, your brain's evolutionary alarm system, along with your anterior insula, which processes social pain. It perfectly mirrors our ancestors' deep anxiety over being kicked out of the tribe. Because, let's face it, in ancient times, tribal exclusion meant literal death. So, your brain still reacts to seeing a party you weren't invited to online as a physical survival threat. Wild, right?
And these comparisons have a very real cost. Survey data shows that nearly half of adolescents aged 13 to 17 explicitly state that social media makes them feel tangibly worse about their body image. It is a direct hit to their self-esteem, entirely driven by those constant upward comparisons against heavily edited standards that literally don't exist in the physical world.
All of this culminates in a remarkably stark warning from the absolute highest levels of public health. The U.S. Surgeon General highlighted that crossing the threshold of just 3 hours a day on social media actually doubles the risk of experiencing clinical symptoms of depression and anxiety in young people. Double the risk. A massive meta-analysis of over 9,000 young participants confirms this exact dynamic. Now, don't worry about getting bogged down in the statistical R values you see here. The main takeaway is super clear. There's a highly consistent, moderate to strong correlation. The data shows beyond a doubt that as problematic media use goes up, so do measurable levels of depression, anxiety, and stress.
Part 4. Rewiring your brain. Escaping the infinite scroll.
All right, it is not all doom and gloom. The good news is that because the human brain is highly plastic, we are absolutely not helpless against the algorithm. We actually possess the power to break this dopamine loop, rebuild our attention spans, and take back our cognitive control. Check this out. A fascinating study from the University of Pennsylvania showed that limiting social media use to just 30 minutes a day produced significant reductions in both loneliness and depression in merely 3 weeks. By starving that digital slot machine and lowering those upward social comparisons, we effectively switch off our brain's status threat circuitry.
So how do we actually do that? Here are a few evidence-based strategies you can use right now. First up, disable your push notifications. Cut off those variable reward triggers at the source. Second, set up some phone-free zones, especially where you sleep and eat. Third, try batching your social media time into specific, scheduled windows to reduce all that cognitive switching we talked about. But most importantly, focus your energy on fostering offline, real-life connections. We have to relearn how to have deep, uninterrupted conversations where human interaction isn't filtered through a tiny screen or measured in likes.
As we wrap up this explainer and you step back out into the real world, I want to leave you with one final thought. Your attention is your most finite, valuable resource. So before you reach into your pocket to blindly scroll the feed again, ask yourself, who is really controlling your attention today? Is it you, or is it the algorithm?